I'm going to build the Undercity from Arcane within Minecraft to celebrate the launch of Season 2 coming to Netflix. This is the image I'm going to attempt to replicate, and I'm going to start by simply laying out the shape of this main building using different coloured walls. Once that's in place, it'll be easier to figure out the scale of the path and some of these bridges as well. Now this template is looking great, but there's one more key thing I need to do, and that's to lay out this right side of the path, which will help me figure out the overall scale of the build. Now I can fill in the paths and bridges we created while making sure to look at our image to make sure I'm getting the colours correct. And then I can get to work on our main structure. I'm just going to start building up our first layer with grey concrete while making sure to constantly check our image to get the scale as close as I can to the real thing. And I'm going to be leaving a bit of a gap here where a door needs to go. Next, I'll be creating these LED strip looking things that go around the whole front side of the build. My next step is to build up these side pillars while curving them in a bit, and then we're going to have our circle in the centre that's going to lead up into our stained glass window sort of thing. Now that's done, I'm just going to build this up and make sure it's the correct shape it's meant to be. Then I can fill this whole thing in, add a couple of windows where they're meant to be, and of course fill in our entire main window with glass. Now this ain't looking too bad at all, and we barely scratched the surface of what we're going to accomplish with this build. You can only imagine what this is going to look like when it's finished. This is the next section of the build I'm going to get built. And it's nice and simple. All I've done is filled in this wall, added a couple windows in there, and continued our LED strips across the way. Then over here it's time to build this little entranceway. These sides have this natural slope shape to it, and then the top curves together into a circle shape, making a nice dome overhang. Just ignore this mess I made in the wall for a second. We've got this glass dome in place now, and I've even added green glass behind it to make it look more like our reference image. I then laid out this top section, which is the next bit we're going to build. I've got these little support pillars in place. Now all that's left to do is to fill in this whole part of the build. Now this circle's in place, I need to build it up to around here. And with that done, I've got to get some windows in place. Now that's not looking too bad at all. Next, I've got to start building up these large windows. All this is now laid out, and I'm going to start roughly filling it in. We can handle all sorts of details and things after. I think it's best to get the entire main shape built first. I'm quickly going to fill in this middle gap. I've got Build-A-Bear built up top, and that helped me figure out the scale of these side bits. They're very roughly built right now, but that's all I need to continue. I can add any other details later. Now I'm excited for this bit. We're going to get this circle built, thicken up the edges, then fill it in with glass. Now I need to get this middle circle detail in place. With this circle now built, I need to fill it in with two different colours. And the last thing I need to do is add a yellow oval here, and then another grey circle here. And that should finish off this part of the build. For now. This is the next side I need to build, and I'm just going to fill it up with mossy cobble. I added a roof here because I got a little confused by the image and messed this bit up a bit, but I recovered pretty well. I've got the next bit laid out and filled in. I also added a roof, and I need to get some windows thrown in there. That's now done, and I also added this bit in place. Now I think it's about time we complete this main building. It may look like we have a lot left to build, but actually these last final shapes are quite simple. With these shapes laid out, I just need to build them up to the correct height. And with that complete, I'm just going to throw a roof on that thing, and then build up the next shape to its correct height. Now that's looking great. I'm now going to put some nice red windows on this building, and get working on these nice spike details. I really like how these have come out. And I've got one more to add on this side of the building. This is the last major bit that needs filling in. Once this is complete, the whole build will look so much more filled in. This is going to go all the way up to the top of our build, and I'm also going to create these side bits that are a key part to the top of our build. This whole thing is starting to look great, but I need to make one more of these on the other side as well. With that done, for now the main building is complete. Now it's in place, it'll be a lot easier to figure out the scale of some more of these pathways and bridges, which will help me figure out the overall scale of the whole build and allow me to build up these side bits. But for now, let's get these bridges built and then lay out the whole side of this path, which will loop all the way around the build. This side is now in place, and it's not looking too bad at all. I've also got this path in place over here and a little pipe as well, and it's time to handle this side of the build. And the last thing I got to do is to fill it all in. I also tested out how I might build this iconic pipe that goes across here, but I may have to move that at some point. But with this whole floor filled in, it's time to start adding this nice little detail here. With it all laid out, it's not looking too bad, so it's time to fill it all in with glass. I also added this little support pillar here, and now I'm going to continue this glass thing around the whole side of the build. Got this last support pillar in place, and now it's time to fill in this whole bottom floor with glass. So that should be nice and easy. No, you... Second time's the charm. Third time. Yes! Okay, this isn't looking too bad. I've just got a bunch of layers of glass of all different colours until I've got the shade of green that I want. I've just tested building railings on this small part of land here before I expand it to the whole rest of the build. And I like how it turned out, so I'm going to go ahead and continue this around the whole rest of the build. And with that all complete, which is looking really nice by the way, it's time to move on to something a little more annoying. This whole side of the build I need to plan out and create. With all this now laid out, I'm going to start filling it all in with the necessary blocks. I'm going to create a bit of a roof overhang here and of course fill in the windows as well. And with this all complete, I can start filling in the next section. A giant poster or a piece of artwork is going to go here, but for now I'm just going to fill it in with blue wool. We can handle all the details later. With all this now roughly filled in, I've got one more bridge I need to make. And that's looking pretty nice. The last thing I've got to do is to fill in this building over here, as well as these two walls that need filling in. And with that done, I can start adding some details across this whole build. This is the first building I'm doing. I've just started by adding some nice little details on the windows down here. I've also textured the wall here and added a nice little pipe here, which could be some form of drain pipe, it could be an electrical cable. I then textured this roof with some different colours. I added a little entranceway down here. Next I added some windows, textured this wall a little bit, and added this detail here. Don't ask me what this is, I don't have a clue honestly. Now I'm going to create this artwork, and that looks pretty cool. And it's pretty spot on to our reference image as well. I've got this top bit blended in a bit now, and now I can get working on the next part of the build. I've got this wall fully textured now. Did up this door area, added some nice details with stairs. Got all these windows in place and the wall detailed there as well. And added a little roof up top. I quickly got this build done, that was nice and simple. Then finished up this whole rest of the build, just adding windows and pipe details and all sorts of little things here. And I got this final build detailed as well. I'm really happy with how this one turned out. It looks really cool in my opinion. This back wall needs some minor details, but once that's done, this whole side of the build will be almost complete. I added light details all over this place just to make these windows pop that extra bit more. I also added this extra line detail across these windows here. The final thing I've got to do with this build is to add some life to the build. Now there's two ways to do that. One is to literally add life to the build, like villagers, other types of animals. And the second is to build things that life would use, like bin bags or trash bags. And that's exactly what I'm going to create, using the, I think the polished blackstone looks better. I'm also going to create these large garbage cans, which my villagers really seem to like for some reason. I'm going to start scattering these all over the place, while also adding a bunch of dirt and muck below them. And that's exactly how you create a build more lively. I'm quickly going to get this front bit built, and I'm really liking how this turned out. I've got this bit here just to cover up this little gap that was in the corner. We've got these supports holding up our pipe here. We've got some details on our pipe as well. And I also textured this top bit up here. I'm quickly going to get this side of the build all built up. I say quickly, this wasn't exactly a short task. I've got this built over here, which I think is meant to be an elevator. Then I've got this weird looking thing here, a bunch of pipes, and of course a bunch of buildings that I had to build. I'm just finishing up this front section with this last building here. Then I added some final details over here, as well as this really nice pipe that goes around this whole thing. And this building I just created needed a railing along the roof and some little antenna things here. And now I can start detailing this whole right hand side of the build. I just thickened this thing up to make it look extra sturdy and of course textured it. I quickly created this little building here and just added a couple windows in it. Next I textured this, cleaned up these pipes, and then added all sorts of colours onto this weird looking thing. Now I'm going to get every other one of these buildings detailed and textured. Now all the way at the end here, I needed to build this thing that I can only describe as a lampshade. Not a clue, don't ask. With a couple last things in place, as well as building a giant background to cover all the sky up. After 2 full days of building straight, this build is finally complete. If you like this video, please make sure to like and subscribe, and follow me on Twitch, because I'll be streaming over there at some point. Thank you all for watching.